Hey, so I actually wanted to do a video today instead of writing stuff. It felt more authentic. So I've realized something really big in the past couple weeks with doing all this healing work and starting the blog and all of that going on. And I'm starting to understand a big part of why I've gotten depressed in my life in the first place. And that's a huge part of that is because I've been living a fake life. And not in the sense that like I'm not who I am, but in the sense that I pretend I'm okay when I'm not to make the other people around me in my life happy, and I pretend that I have it figured out. I pretend I'm doing better. I put on this face of pretending that I'm more okay and more put together and have more things figured out and all of that than I do, and it's exhausting. And it started when I was a child. With this blog, I know I talked a little bit about, I had stuff as a kid, but I did not have the best childhood. I had a lot of stressful and negative experiences. I don't want to get into those right now, but it basically resulted in me feeling like I had to not just protect myself, but my siblings, my parents, and especially when I went to school, like I didn't want people to know how not okay I was. I was confused, and so I would put on this face like I wanted to impress everyone. I wanted to make my parents happy, and so I just started acting okay when I wasn't. I started getting really analytical and seeming really good at school and seeming really mature for my age, and all of these things when I was like falling apart inside. And it's like started a habit of me like putting on this fake face. And the thing is, when you do that, you end up denying who you are, and it builds up. And as I got older and I continued that, I started to fall apart. I'm sorry, there's a little blip in the video here. I've been figuring out how to talk straight for a long time. So this is the first time I'm trying to record something like this, so bear with me a little bit. But continuing the story, as I got older, I started to fall apart, and I started to feel really depressed and suicidal, and this started in like high school, and I started to want to figure out like what's going on, like why am I not okay? But at the same time, I still wanted to make everyone else in my life happy. I still wanted to make everyone else think I was okay and that things were going well. And so I would have this fight where I'd break down, I'd tell a friend I'm not okay, I would go to them, and the next day I'd seem okay, I'd be analytical, I'd do my schoolwork and all of that. And this has continued, and I've ended up living this life that's not authentic to my own emotions and my own needs and the own things that make me happy. I like what I'm doing. I'm a graphic designer and I like art, but I got a job to earn more money so that I could prove that I could be on my own, so that my parents didn't worry about me, so that my mom wasn't concerned. Again, like I want to seem put together for the world. At work, I'm nice to people and I try to please them and say I can do things when I'm stressed or I don't want to do them, and pretend I like what I'm doing when I don't. And the thing is, it's exhausting. Again, like as I said, it's absolutely exhausting. And what happens is it ends up coming out. And the thing is, when you do that, first off, you're rejecting your own emotions, right? And you have a prefrontal cortex and a smart part, the modern part of your brain, and then you've got this subconscious and limbic system and the old emotional brain. And the thing is, that emotional brain and that subconscious brain comes first, and it doesn't process the same way as your prefrontal cortex. So when you reject your own feelings and you put out this fake face to try to impress people and try to pretend things are okay and not worry the people in your life and take responsibility for things that aren't yours, when you do all of that, you're telling your subconscious brain like, oh hey, I'm not good enough. And that's not, and the thing is, like, your brain's like, your prefrontal cortex doesn't think that, but like deep down, like your subconscious brain, it just knows like, oh, I'm rejecting my own feelings for other people, which means that my feelings aren't important, but I need my feelings, right? And it starts this whole cycle of your brain being like, oh, well, if I reject my feelings, then that must be bad, right? So your subconscious brain, like, it doesn't know what to call it, so it just starts to assume that you not honoring yourself means that your own feelings are bad, and then it continues that cycle, and so you're creating negative emotions and a rejection of yourself, so that builds up, right? And then on top of that, that pretending, that acting is exhausting. It's exhausting. And it also prevents you from forming authentic relationships with the people in your life because they want to help you. They want to see the real you. And if you don't tell them when you're not okay and that you're a mess and actually talk about it, then later what happened to me, and everyone deals with this differently, but for me, I broke down. And then I ended up going to people for tons of validation and advice. And I ended up having, like, you know, especially this friend that like got worn out, like I would go to him for help, I would talk to him, right? And I would need validation. It would make me feel a little bit better temporarily, but I still wasn't honoring my emotions, so I still had all this turmoil inside. And then I would go the next day and pretend that I was okay with the job search and that I was figuring it out, and I would want him, you know, to feel that he helped me, even though I knew that what he did didn't help me because it wasn't what I needed, and I felt bad for breaking down, and so I'd want to seem okay, right? Which started the whole same cycle all over again. And the thing is, like, honoring yourself, it's so important. And what's changed things the past few weeks is just admitting to myself that I am a mess and I have all these feelings, and that's okay. And the first thing I do now is honor how I feel, and I'm authentic. And I tell myself, like, it's okay to tell other people that, you know, that I'm struggling or whatever. And it's not safe to tell everyone everything, but I'm not pretending anymore. And that weight off my shoulders, I feel a lot happier, and it's made me realize that denying my feelings, putting on that face, that buildup of negative emotions, that negativity in my subconscious, that's what was causing all this in the first place. And that's made the biggest change. And I have a lot more work to do, and it's baby steps, but just realizing that not being okay is okay. Like, that teaches your brain, and then just accepting what I feel now, that teaches your subconscious brain, like, oh, I am supposed to love myself regardless. And that love starts to translate other places. And that's the thing, that's the key, that's the big difference. When you don't honor yourself and you put on this fake face, you're telling yourself not to love yourself. And even though you're thinking in your logic, you know, prefrontal cortex, you're like, oh, well, by doing that, I'm, you know, not hurting other people in your life. No, that's not true. You actually are, because when you don't love yourself first, okay, all those negative emotions build up. All that lack of love, like it builds up, and it wears you down. And then even if you want to love other people and be there for them, you can't give that to them because you're not loving yourself, and your subconscious doesn't think you love yourself. So then you're perpetuating that negativity by accident, and you're continuing that whole cycle of being fake and negativity and back and forth. Where when you love yourself and you go out in the world and you're like, you know what, it's okay that I'm not perfect. It's okay that I have flaws, but I love myself anyway, and I'm gonna honor my feelings, and I'm gonna honor my struggles, and I'm gonna accept it, right? And when you do that and you take off that fake face and you accept whatever consequences may come, okay, all of a sudden you're putting love out into the world, and you're actually making your friends happier. You're making yourself happier. You now have love to give, because you're allowing yourself to love. And it sounds crazy, and it's the simplest thing, but those actions, those choices are what your brain understands deep down here. Your prefrontal cortex, this part of your brain, it doesn't run the deep feelings. It doesn't run what's in the heart, what's in the deep part, you know, deep down. It just can mitigate the logic on top. And it's a very important lesson to learn, and it's one I'm starting to understand. But all of this stuff, this depression, this happiness, it's internal. It's the way that you're thinking about your own feelings, and it's the way that you're living your life day to day. And it makes a huge difference. And it really, really does. And I'm just starting to understand it, but I'm really happy that I am. And if this video hits anyone and helps them in any way, and helps anyone else understand this, that's awesome. But that's all I wanted to share today, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I hope you guys just do something that makes you happy today. Do something that's gonna make you smile, because it's gonna make a big difference. just loving yourself, just being okay being you. It makes a big difference. All right, bye guys.